Hello, everyone. I think that you can hear me and see me. My name is Deborah Marcos. I'm one of the postgraduate teaching fellows of the MSc Gastro. It would be nice if you could, I don't know, say hello or just wave on the chat if you can hear me, or if you cannot hear me, just also let me know. Yeah, please, as you know, David says, please feel free to type in the chat any question, any comment, anything. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Fumi. Yeah, thank you and good morning. Please feel free to ask anything. I was hoping that rather than a formal me talking about it, I can give you a very quick overview of the course, but it would be nice if you can ask me anything related to the course, or anything that you if you are undecided about applying, or if you are undecided about registering or formally accepting the offer. If there is anything that I could do to ease your doubts, please don't hesitate to ask, okay? So let's wait a couple of minutes to see if there is anyone else that wants to join. So if you want to use this time to ask anything or do any comments, just please feel free. Otherwise, I think that is now 12:03. Let's wait a couple of minutes and let's start. Okay, so the first question is very good. It says, how many contact hours roughly per week we can expect? So that's a question from Lucy. So we know that, as you can imagine, we know that we've got a distance learning part of the program and an on-site part of the program. We are very flexible with the distance learning because most of the students that are doing distance learning are working. All of the sessions are recorded for you to kind of play after. For the on-site students that are in London, we try to put together 1 day a week. It can be in the form of tutorials, it can be in the form of lectures, it can be in the form of clinical case discussion. So at least we have, or we try to do 1 day a week, say, I don't know, between 4, 5, 6 hours, depending on the week. Sometimes there is more than 1 day per week as well for lectures. Say, I don't know, I think an average would be between 5, 6, 7 hours of contact per week. I don't know if that responds to your question. For the on-site, the first thing that we say is that even though we try to condensate the contact hours as much as we can, it is, for the on-site students, they have to consider it as a full-time course. Therefore, we are expecting attendance to all of the lectures, and we try to give notice as much as we can in terms of the timings, but we expect on-site students to attend all of the contact hours, unless that there is something that stops you from doing so, say a disease or a personal circumstance, but not like because you have to do other work. Can I ask you, Lucy, you would be on-site student or distance learning? On-site, okay. So it is now 12:06. So let me go through this very quickly. So the MSc Gastroenterology is, well, obviously, in my opinion, you might say that I'm biased, but it is a very good one. I've been working on it since 2006, so that gives you an idea of how old I am and, how many students, I have had the pleasure to guide through. It was established, I think it was 30 years ago by Professor Dame Parvin Kumar, that you might, recognize her name from the textbooks in medicine. And we've got, as I just mentioned, we've got two modalities. We've got an on-site modality where the students attend the lectures in London, and an online learning. And the on-site is full-time, and you can choose to do an MSc or a postgraduate diploma. The difference between these is that the postgraduate diploma is just taught modules, 6 taught modules, and the MSc also includes a research project that can be in the form of can be a clinical research project. It can be a systematic review. Since since the pandemic, students are also doing systematic reviews now. And the online learning, because as I said, many students are working at the same time. You can do it part-time. That's the recommended format that we suggest for students that are working, because at the end of the day, it's quite a demanding course. You can do an MSc again. You can do a postgraduate diploma. Again, the difference is if you want to do a research project. However, let me just clarify that when you do an MSc online, you have to sort out your research with the local supervisor, unless that you want to do a systematic review. But if you want to do something like more clinical research oriented, you have to find yourself a local supervisor. There is also another format which is called, for the online students that want to do an MSc, is it called clinical case MSc, and that includes 3 clinical case reports that you do as an on a stance as a for your MSc as a dissertation. So the course is suitable for current clinicians, obviously with an interest in gastroenterology. We've had a lot of intercalating medical students who have successfully completed at least 3 years of their undergraduate degree. And we also welcome specialty nurses and allied healthcare professionals like dietitians. But the requirement for these allied healthcare professionals and nurses is that they must be working in the field of gastroenterology already. We wouldn't be accepting any other allied healthcare professional. Yeah, can I go to the next slide? Okay. So why should you take this course? Again, it's the longest established program of its kind, set up by Professor Dame Parvin Kumar, who you will also have You know, she is retired, but she always comes to meet all of the students, and she likes being involved still. And she's an amazing source of information and network and advice. It's very flexible. If you're doing it online, you can study alongside your other work commitments. We try to be as flexible as we can. We've got a lot of very well-renowned teaching faculty from Barts and the London and senior NHS clinicians that are well-known in the whole world for their research, and they're very well recognized in their fields. It's been approved by the BSG Education Committee, and the ones that will be on site will be able to receive endoscopy training. But that I have to clarify this. Well, I'm normally in charge of this part of the course. This is only on endoscopy simulator. It's no hands-on on real patients. It's just in simulator, you know, computer, artificial intelligence, but it's very good. And this doesn't stand obviously on a training that then you can use for your I don't know, SPR numbers, or that is not recognized by JET, but it is very good to learn the basic skills. And many of the previous students, you know, that have gone through different routes, they have used the endoscopy basic training for, you know, further endoscopy work. So it's quite nice. Obviously this hands-on endoscopy training. Sorry, let me just reply to this question, which is very good. Can distant learning students attend on-site lectures, classes, simulator training if they find themselves in London campus? The answer is yes. Okay. I always welcome any distance learning students. It's always nice to meet you in person. So yes, of course, we won't be able to adapt the timetable to your, you know, availability, but if you find yourself that you're able to attend, yes, that the answer is definitely yes. So what is the structure of the teaching and the assessment? So the postgraduate diploma, it has 6 compulsory modules. This includes a basic of GI disease, introduction to endoscopy and GI investigations, liver and pancreatic disease, adult GI disease, neurogastroenterology, pediatrics, and pediatrics. The modules are assessed by a coursework, which is, you know, it can be an essay it can be, for example, in endoscopy we've got a poster design, it can be a paper, critical appraisal, and also we've got a written examination, which accounts, the exam accounts for 70% of the module, and the coursework accounts for 30% of the module. And this is the diploma. But then if you want to do the MSc, which I truly recommend, because there's a lot of skills to learn from this. It is a research project, or as I said, you know, it can be a systematic review. It can be in the case of distance learning students, it can be a clinical case report, 3 clinical case reports. But this normally goes with a written dissertation of up to 10,000 words and a viva, a presentation of your project in September of that year that you submit. Again, you'll be taught by international recognized academics in a variety of methods, including seminars, lab practice sessions that is only on-site students, self-directed learning, tutorials, and case presentations. We will be supporting reading lists, and journal papers. And again, as I said, the MSc, if you opt to go for it teaches you a lot of skills that you will be using in the future in your professional career, from critical appraising, how to read a paper, to how to write. Academical writing, in my opinion, I'm not English, I'm Spanish, so I find academical writing in English an art. Really, it's something that it is very difficult to do, and when you complete your MSc, definitely you've got a very high standard, when you write a dissertation. So again, the MSc not only teaches you gastroenterology or skills or content in gastroenterology, but if you opt to go through different academic routes, it can teach you a lot of skills that you will be using for for the rest of your career, really. So I really invite you to come and join us. It is a very good course. We try our best to support you. Me, Alicia Green, Dr. Alicia Green, who is the other teaching fellow, Professor Croft, who is the course director, and Becky Chappell, who is the lead admin. She's really on top of things, and you can always go to her or to me and Alicia, and we will always try to be there for you. If you have any personal problem, we always encourage you to discuss it with us, and we will always try to help you to the best of our ability. So that, I think that's from me, but I would really like to invite you to ask me anything, to discuss anything. What are your thoughts? What are your doubt? What is your first impressions? Please go ahead. So in the on-site cohort, the question is, how many students are usually in the on-site cohort? In the years that I've been working in the MSc, the maximum amount is always been around 15. And the numbers vary from 8 to 15-ish. We don't encourage more than 15, because then obviously when we have to look for a project to do the MSc, it's quite limited. So it's been an average between, again, any number between 7 and 15 in my experience. So that's quite nice, because then to be in a small group, it's quite nice in terms of if you want to have a clinical discussion, if you want to do, again, practice in the endoscopy simulator. So it gives you more advantages than being in a big group. You feel more at ease when you want to raise any, I don't know, any question. So you have a lot of one-to-one support as well, which is nice. Any other question? How many professors? What do you mean? Sorry, I don't understand the question. How many professor per lecture? Well, there is always, so basically, each module has a convener, you know, a professor or a clinician that looks after that module. For example, I look after the endoscopy module, and we try to involve as many clinicians in giving the lectures. Just because, I mean, I guess that I could do it all myself, but it's always nice to have different points of view. Like, and then you always have different clinicians or academics that are a specialist in an area, uh, just out of, you know, out of memory, you know, we've got 1 week dedicated to IBD, and Professor Lindsay is the one in charge of that week, even though that week is included in the adult GI module. And he brings different lecturers, specialist clinicians, in you know, to treat the different topics of the IBD. Like, I don't know, she will bring Dr. Lamid for the treatment, or he will bring Dr. Mehta for nutrition and Crohn's disease. So there is always a convener for the module, but different lecturers depending. Um, Yes. So would it be possible we could get an example um, on or recorded class of the online module? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if Becky, maybe you can help me. Would it be possible to share a recorded class of the online module? I mean, Halima, just to say that oh, sorry.
I can have a discussion with David to see if we can do that, if we can put together a little taster video of one of the lectures maybe and send it around to everyone.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the material, Halima, the material is the same for the on-site students and the distance learning. So if everything is recorded, even, you know, obviously not the simulator, because the simulator is not assessed. So because it's not assessed, it's not a mandatory part of the course. But the rest, all of the things that we record is shared immediately with the distance learning. Sometimes, you know, there is also live discussions, so we like this one that I'm doing now, we involve everyone on site and distance learning. But yeah, we will have a bit of a discussion, because I don't know in terms of, you know, the rights. I don't know if we have the right to share any recorded class. I don't know, but we will speak to David about it. Lucy asked how often on-site students get teaching in endoscopy simulator. Okay, so we try, or I try to do once a week. The problem that we've had in the last couple of years, Lucy, as you can imagine, is that things have been really limited. I mean, the simulator, we've got it where we give the lectures, so that's not a problem. But in terms to go to the hospital, we've been very limited with observing anything because of the pandemics, and now things are very restricted still for, you know, even for medical students. I always do my best to arrange things, but that, I have to be honest, that hasn't, to be going to the hospital and observe, it hasn't been happening in the last couple of years. But the simulator, yeah, that's very much up to you guys, you know, to the on-site students. And this year I'm going to try to be more strict, because what was been happening in the last couple of years, or the last few years, is that because it's not an assessed material, obviously I cannot really impose students to come and do the simulator. And you will see that at the beginning everyone is very optimistic. Oh, well, I can spare, this time or this time. But then when you have to do a presentation for next week, and you have to study, and you have to prepare for the exam, a lot of people give priority, of course, to the taught part of the course, and they are like, oh, maybe we will come next week. But I think that this year I'm going to be a little bit more strict, at least, for the students that really want to do it. So it's an average of once a week, or at least once every alternate weeks. And is there a clinical practice for nurses? I don't. So what, Carlton? What do you mean clinical practice for nurses? So the course is mainly, the course is mainly taught, as I said, it's a taught one. And clinical practice doesn't come, unless that is very sporadic. I assume that you mean to go to the hospital and do some practice. And it's mainly, again, the last couple of years we've had a lot of trouble, trying to arrange anything observation. But if we manage, it's purely observational. It's not something that you can do on your own, or hands-on clinical practice. So the course, I want you to, to be clear that the course is mainly a taught theoretical course. Opportunities for online students to benefit later. I'm always happy to welcome you in the simulator, but not in the hospital. The hospital, it is, if anything, it will be something observational still, again. But I'm always, for me, I'm always happy, even if you have finished the course, if you find yourself in London and you want to come to have a look at the simulator, and any students that we might have, you're very welcome. But to the simulator, not to the hospital. The hospital route is a different one. Again, because the endoscopy training is regulated by, by other route, only the SPRs in gastro can do it, and they have already passed MRCP, and they've got a training number. So that's a different route. But in our simulator, I always welcome anyone. It doesn't matter if you have completed the program. No, this okay. So the next question, which is a very good one, for the MSc distance learning, I suppose, yeah. What is the criteria for the clinical supervisor? Do they need to be an MD, or can they be someone you work with? Yeah, they normally work with you. Obviously, someone that has a research project already on. You will need to send us a draft research project. It can be a clinical audit. It can be something. It doesn't need to be a huge research project, because remember that it normally is done in 3 months. So it has to be realistic, okay? But what you need to do, it is you send us a draft specification of your project, of what you want to do, and Professor Croft normally is in charge of approving it, or give you some ideas. It doesn't need to be someone that does research, but all of the, or most of the consultants, that you're working, they might have already an interest in something that they're working on, and they can supervise you. The reason is because obviously in the distance we we cannot supervise you. We're always happy to, you know, to give you any input, but in order to have a dissertation done, especially if it's something clinical or research, you will need someone local that supervise you. When the courses start exactly, it is in September. I think if I'm not wrong, Becky might also. Oh yeah, Becky has already said is the week beginning on the 18th of September. So Monday 25th of September. Something about the exams. What is the format of the end of module examination? There is no multiple choice questions. It's mini essay questions, like short answer questions. Something like describe or give us 3 hormones that are related in obesity and how this doesn't work in obese people, in obese patients, something like that, something that you can answer within 7-8 minutes. So it's a kind of short answer questions. Yeah, Tonya, it says it would be really nice to have at least 1 or 2 hospital visits just to observe the procedure on a patient. And I agree, but again, Tonya, as I said, this hasn't happened in the last couple of years, not because of us not wanting it, but because of the pandemics. Things are very, very, very restricted at the hospital. I will do my best to sort it out, but at this time, at this point, I cannot promise it, because then if I promise it now and you come into the course and I cannot arrange it, you're going to be really, really upset with me and disappointed. So I try to be honest and really, you know, tell you that that hasn't happened, not because of us not wanting it, because it used to happen every single time, every single year during the endoscopy module. I used to arrange visits for you guys to sit and, you know, and observe some procedures, but that unfortunately hasn't happened in the last couple of years. Okay, so that's a very good question, Lucy. On average, what proportion of on-site students are intercalating medical students? Quite a high proportion, and I have to say that they always do incredibly well. I don't know, are you an intercalated student? Because yes, so sometimes they feel, oh God, you know, I mean, and I'm intercalating, therefore I'm in a kind of in a disadvantage, you know, towards the rest of my peers who are already clinicians. If that's the case, that you feel that way, please don't. I think at the top of the class in the last few years has always been an intercalating student. They've done amazing projects. They have done super well. They have never, no, I don't remember anyone even struggling, because again, part of the course you already have it, which is to adapt to the kind of British way of studying. Okay. Are you a Queen Mary University student? Sorry to ask you, or do you come from somewhere else? Okay. Again, you've been writing essays already. You can do self-directed learning. You already have a lot of skills that other students don't have, and that we try to instill in them at the beginning of the course. So I wouldn't be concerned at all. I mean, in my experience, no one has ever failed the MSc being intercalated students. Not only that, but they have excelled. They've done really, really well. So yeah, I mean, but again, I'm gonna send you my email. Actually, I'm gonna write it here, and I would really like you, everyone, guys, if you want to ask me anything, or maybe you don't feel like asking it, you know, in the chat, or you feel like a more one-to-one, I don't know, discussion. I will be really happy to answer any email, you know, at any point. I work part-time, so I apologize if sometimes you write to me and I cannot answer immediately, but I end up answering eventually. And there is no silly questions, or there is no irrelevant questions. So please, you can ask me anything. Any other comment? Any other question that you would like to ask? Again, you know, I think that, well, Dr. Green, the other teaching fellow, she was a student in the MSc. I wasn't, but she was. And obviously she's got a lot of insight and empathy, you know, with you guys, you know, of what you will be going through. Doesn't mean that I don't have, you know, empathy, you know, but she knows exactly, you know, what you're feeling. So that's why I say that, even, you know, if you think, God, I feel a little bit embarrassed about asking this, or this is a silly question, don't feel that way, you know. If you are feeling a little bit low or lacking confidence in yourself, it's always, you know, nice to have a discussion with someone. So, and that's the good thing, and that's the beauty of having a small group, you know, that you don't feel that you're being, or you don't feel so lost in a crowd. So please contact us for anything that you might find difficult, or you want to clarify. Okay, anything else? No? Becky, do you want to say something, or is there anything that I have forgotten?
No, I think you've covered most of it. Again, I can put my email address in the chat if anyone wants to ask anything about the admissions process or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can contact me.
Okay, so I think that we're gonna finish, right? Anyway, this session has been recorded. So, if you can think of something, I should have asked this, you know, just drop us an email, and we will come back to you. So I think that this is going to conclude the meeting. I hope to meet you all soon. If you have any doubt about the course, please don't. It's a really lovely course. It's really good academically, you know, very high standard. A lot of science, a lot of gastroenterology, which is obviously the best specialty out there. Yes, please do come and join us. It would be lovely to meet you. But in the meantime, have a lovely day and a lovely rest of summer. Okay, so bye. See you soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.